No time soon.
I think we have everybody who's coming. So why don't we start? Thank you. We will call this committee of the whole meeting to order. Again, we acknowledge that the meeting is being held in the traditional territory of our friends, neighbors, and Treaty 8 partners of the Dene, Cree, and Dunnizal people of Fort Nelson First Nation, as well as the Provincial River First Nation. We recognize our treaty, we recognize the rights within that treaty, and we celebrate the contributions and enduring presence of the Métis people. Please be advised that this afternoon's meeting is available for the public to attend virtually, is being streamed and recorded. Is there any public online that would like to speak, ask questions? No? Everybody's okay with the agenda the way it is? We'll see how much we get through. So outstanding business is a sustainable service level presentation. So we'll turn it over to staff. I think the chief was partway through. I think he's gonna finish today, hopefully.
That's the plan
That's the
anyway.
plan.
So I think we ended off at slide 21 when we at the last meeting. Plan today is hopefully get through that, and then depending on time, we might jump into general government, but we'll make that call at the time. So
Okay,
are you good or you need to?
Yeah.
I think we finished at slide 21. So I believe we're starting at highway rescue. Was there any questions leading up to this?
One thing that Chief talked about last time, I would have forgot about that.
Good.
Nothing outstanding.
Nope, sounds good. And like I said, same as last time before, any questions, by all means, I'll stop. I'll try and answer your questions. If not, I'll get you the answer. So highway rescue, this service benefits not only local residents, but also provincial transportation corridors, commercial trucking, tourism, the industrial traffic moving through the region. If we go to slide 23, the scope of highway rescue incidents are often complex, resource intensive, and can require extended response durations due to the size of our response area and roadway conditions. On slide 24, highway rescue is a specialized service that provides emergency response along our designated highway corridors. These incidents often are complex and, like I said, resource intensive and can occur a significant distance from the fire hall. Highway rescue is one of the most demanding services we provide. It requires specialized equipment, extensive training, and significant personnel resources. It plays a critical role in protecting the traveling public and supporting emergency response throughout the region. A single highway rescue incident can tie up a crew of 4 firefighters for several hours, depending on its location, the weather, the complexity of the incident. That commitment can extend to even 8 hours or more. There's times our crew's been on the road. We've been up the highway overnight for a day or so. So while the crews are committed to that rescue, those resources are unavailable for other emergencies. Slide 25. This is a 24/7 emergency response. So we provide highway rescue services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's subject to staffing availability and concurrent emergency incidents on the number of responders we send. So the public expects emergency assistance regardless of the time or weather. Our members respond day and night, often in difficult conditions. Response capability depends on available personnel at the time of the call. We send a minimum of 2 firefighters and 1 chief officer to all MVIs, and to a maximum of 4 firefighters and 1 chief officer. Unlike a typical fire call, highway rescue incidents often require specialized skills and equipment, vehicle extrication using hydraulic rescue tools, patient access and removal from damaged vehicles, scene stabilization and hazard control. Many incidents turn into hazmat incidents. So we're more, once we arrive on scene, we become more or less the overall safety of that incident for other responding agencies. And we do emergency medical care until we hand the patient over to BCHS. So once the patient has been extracted from the vehicle or the machinery, we do all the first aid up to that point. Then once we have them out of the machinery or vehicles, then we hand over to BCHS.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If we don't or can't respond, what happens?
If we don't respond and say somebody's trapped in the vehicle, nobody's going to help them.
So the province doesn't have a backup plan?
No, it'll be just the BCHS service going, and they don't have the capability to do any rescues.
Someone would I guess the answer is someone would eventually show up.
I
But
guess I ask because, I mean, it doesn't, as we get further into it, we realize that what the province pays doesn't even begin to cover it. And yeah, so I just kind of wanted that information. If they're not willing to cover what it costs to do these types of responses, what happens?
yeah, that's an issue that's becoming more prevalent and like a concern from the province, because again, this is we'll call it a provincial service that's provided by a third party, in this case us. And I mean, given the location,
Mhm.
there's not many options, right? So there could be, depending on the situation, they might be able to get someone out of Watson Lake, maybe. But from a timeliness perspective, there's really not many options. And those are conversations that we're having now with the province and looking at different options. Because the question comes down to is, you know, if there's not adequate coverage or adequate compensation, we are looking at some different options from a bylaw perspective to look at chargebacks for, say, a trucking company that might have they'll have it covered by their insurance, right? Because we can talk like the Summit Lake Rock Cut instance, a really good one there, you know,
Yeah.
2 days on scene, terrible conditions, swapping crew out. I think we got 10 grand, 11 grand.
Yeah.
From the province
From the province.
and nothing from the insurance company?
Because we don't have the ability to charge back, so we're looking at what the options are for that right now. There's a bylaw, the bylaw is being written essentially currently at the moment. We're looking at what the options are to be able to do that. Example would be I mean, we had a situation with a truck a couple of weeks ago, the one that flopped over, the pup that flopped over the bottom of Peterson. They requested the cleanup crew, their church requested, well, they had to pump out that truck if we could be on scene to help out. So myself and the chief sat down and worked out a bit of an hourly cost to recoup costs and charge the company back directly that way. But technically, you need a bylaw to say this is what we're going to do and this is how you're going to do it, to see if you can recoup additional costs, right? Because like I said, again, when you look at the Summit Lake Rock Cut, we get equipment reimbursed that damage due to the incident, which is over and above what we received, and then there's a rate sheet in terms of the type of rescue there is, and the equipment that's used, and personnel that's used.
Do we have any? Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Mayor, just a clarification that I want to make sure that I understood what you said. So all that's required is for us to have a bylaw that would allow us to charge back either to the company involved or to the insurance agency. Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, I'll say sort of. I mean, we already have a bylaw. It's an update to the bylaw that we're looking at right now. And then what do we have the ability to put in that bylaw that will allow us
That's not beer.
to what's that?
I just said it. That's not beer. I just cracked it. Just so you know.
Drinking?
Non-alcohol.
I just opened a ginger ale and I can imagine it sounded just like a beer.
That's so, yes and no, I mean, Deputy Mayor, Gerwing, we're in the process of redoing and updating the bylaw, and we're looking at what opportunities there are to charge back for those activities back to, so like I said, the insurer or the trucking company, if an incident occurs, to help make up the lost revenues for the cost to provide that service. So we're
Okay.
looking at those options now. In addition to, I think the chief had mentioned at the last presentation, for example, even looking at options, like we don't, in our bylaw currently, we don't have the ability to charge back false alarms. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's not like the very first false alarm you're gonna go and charge back, but we have had situations where businesses or whatnot have an issue and we get constant false alarms going back, and it's not uncommon to have in a bylaw, once you have when you hit a certain threshold, that you'll start charging back for that, and hopefully that's the incentive to fix the issue too, so.
Okay, thank you.
This is
That-
not just all about, this is not just all about money, though.
It's
You know,
not,
there's a moral component that goes with this, as well as a professional component that goes with it. You know, I think if we stop doing it, I mean, I'm not advocating that at all. But if we stopped doing it and a resident of this municipality had a wreck up the highway and we didn't respond, you can imagine the moral discussion
Yes.
that goes on in town because of that. And the other is that if we quit doing it, I don't imagine a lot of firefighters that would be happy that we quit doing it.
Oh.
Right? I mean, it's a professional part of what they do, right? And it's like being able to practice as a nurse the entire scope of your profession. And so that we need to take that into consideration as well. But doing whatever we can to try to recuperate what's available to us. We just have to keep those other things in the back of our mind.
Yeah,
as we move forward.
and of course, internally, we absolutely do, right?
Yeah.
Like that's, I mean, might lob a couple things out to the province to suggest that, they're not keeping up with what the costs are to provide the service and the concerns around, or even the timeliness of the reimbursement. Like we
Yeah.
just got paid last week for the Summit Rock Cut.
Yeah.
And that was after some discussions and concerns that way, right? Even from a reimbursement for equipment, we just have to make a decision to buy it, and then the hope is that they reimburse, right? So that's a separate issue. But the reality is that, given when someone travels the highway, there's a level of expectation that if someone's in an emergency situation and they need help, you're right. I mean, firefighters aren't going to want to be sitting down there from a political perspective saying, no, we're not going to respond to this. They
Yeah.
want that's the reason why they're in the game. So.
Yeah. I see your hand is still up, Lorraine.
Yeah, my question was in no way intended to imply that we would not respond. Just I wanted to know if there were other agencies that could respond. And then secondly, that we do what we need to do to recover as many of the costs as we can, whether that's from the province or from a third party. It was just wanted to clarify that my question was not around not providing the service.
Yeah, no, that's understandable.
Councillor Souls has.
I have a question around who does this in other areas, like the Peace River Regional District? Who actually is the service provider for emergency rescue and so on? Is it us?
So in Fort St. John, we respond from Fort Nelson to the middle of Sickney Chief Bridge. Fort St. John Fire Rescue goes from Fort St. John to the middle of Sickney Chief Bridge.
Okay, so they have their fire rescue group
Yeah.
is also so
Taylor does from Baldonnel essentially to.
Taylor does south.
So
And
the
needs
question,
DOS.
are we all of our regions struggling to get reimbursed for this?
We're all under the same umbrella.
Same rate sheets. But what we're looking at is, there's a couple in the Lower Mainland, like the chief had, was able to flag that are looking at having some language in that could look at charging back, companies, right? And the difference down there is you get down the Lower Mainland, there's fire rescue there that don't respond to those types of, like the bigger center as well, but the smaller ones don't. Or they have mutual aid agreements so that
Yeah.
if one responds, and it's the same as City of Fort St. John and Taylor responds, City of Fort St. John can back up Taylor or vice versa
Yeah.
if in the need, right?
That's the difference for us.
And that's
no
the
backup.
difference for us, right? Is that there really is no backup. And I know there's been discussions with Watson Lake in the past, especially because we can end up going to the border and previously, and Chief would know more today, but previously, I mean, they didn't have things like Jaws of Life and be able to do extraction it was left on us versus it could be an hour south of them, for example, if we're responding 4.5, 5 hours north, right?
Yeah, no, just off the record, I met with the new Watson Lake Fire Chief and we had some good discussions on them dipping into the northern part of BC, so we don't have to go all the way up there. And we're just working that out and they'll have to do some work with the province as well, so they can get some type of reimbursement.
The challenge run into there then is the agreements that the province has with the territory. That's,
Well, it makes some sense that they would come as far down as that mine at Fireside. Like
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense.
that makes sense
to me.
Yeah, but only
Because
because
Fireside, it's their employees are coming from Watson Lake for the most part, right? And the ore that they're taking out of there is being processed in Watson Lake. So even though it's in BC, it makes some sense that they would come at least that far and get some kind of payment
Mhm.
for that.
and therein lies and some of the pushes that we're going to be doing and actually conversations I'm currently having with the EMCR is pushing the envelope a bit for them because if we do nothing, the province doesn't have any initiative to do anything. We'll just answer the call of duty and we'll make that trip. So it's pushing the envelope to say they need to put an agreement in place between province of BC and the territory from a reimbursement perspective.
Yeah. Well, from our own safety perspective, I'm happy that we've got good communication there now with the satellite service, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you turn to the next slide. It's basically training requirements. So for doing highway rescues or any type of rescues, it's a whole new part of NFPA. It's above and beyond NFPA 1001. It dips into NFPA 10,006 and it's all on specialized training. So all of our firefighters are required and we are trained to the 1006 standard when it comes to all rescues. So we do vehicle extrication training, traffic incident management, emergency medical response, scene safety and hazard management, and we coordinate everything with RCMP, BCHS. We do work with Yukon Ambulance from time to time up north and all other responding agencies. The province keeps ensuring that we are sending the correct people on these calls as well. So they hold us accountable, making sure that we don't train any untrained staff. So anybody who is going outside of our fire protection area for any rescue are certified rescuers on whatever incident we're going to, be it high angle rescue, embankment rescue, motor vehicle, auto X, confined space, anything like that. We just can't send anybody on that truck. We need to make sure that they are certified, so.
And what percentage, do you know off the top of your head, what percentage of your training budget is taken up by this service? Yeah.
We tend to, every year we bring in a big course. So for example, this year we're recertifying in high angle rescue, so that'll be a part of that. But last year we did a bunch of training for a safety officer and stuff like that. So it's year to year, it's hit or miss. We do have dedicated quarterly rescue training where we will do swift water rescue, motor vehicle incident or auto X training, high angle rescue training, stuff like that. So, and then every Tuesday night we do firefighter training. So
internal instructors for those.
yes,
Yeah.
we all
You're not
have
bringing
in-house
anybody-
instructors.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So as you can see there on the map, we have quite a large response area. So the blue area there is the town of Fort Nelson. That's our fire protection area. The little yellow around the blue is our medical response area. And then the big red border around everything, that is our rescue response area. So our rescue response area it's huge. It's basically 15% of the province. So we'll go to the Alberta border, Northwest Territories, Yukon, and to the middle of Sickanee Chief Bridge, where we meet Fort St. John. Incidents can occur many kilometers from town. Travel times can be significant. Weather and road conditions can affect response operations, and crews may be committed at an incident for several hours, depending on the location, weather, what the incident is. As Scott mentioned, the Summit Rock Cut incident. We were there basically, I think it was almost 2 days.
So it's providing you can get there by road. So nobody's
Yeah.
asking you to get into a helicopter and go
No.
somewhere. That search and rescue does that?
Yes.
Okay.
We're all on the road and SAR does out in the bush and stuff like
Right.
that.
So that's significantly reduced when we talk about the roads that, you know, the actual area that you can respond to is significantly
Yes.
reduced when you look at where the roads are.
And on the map there, there, on the, I guess it'd be the east side of town, where you have all oil and gas roads.
Yeah, yeah.
We have Fort St. John that comes up in our area because only way for us to access some of those roads would be to go down past Sickney Chief, go off road and then come back up. So we dip in their area because they don't have access. We dip in, and they dip in our area
Because of that.
depending on where the road is. So.
Gotcha.
So we have a provincial partnership. This service is provided as a request of the province and supports the safety of residents, visitors, commercial traffic traveling through our region. It supports major transportation corridors, assists the tourist, residents, commercial carriers and industry, provides critical rescue response capability in remote areas. Direct benefits are the motorists traveling the Alaska Highway, residents and visitors using regional highways, commercial transportation and industry operators, and patients requiring emergency rescue or medical assistance. Indirect benefits are your BC Ambulance Service, the RCMP through coordinated emergency response, overall regional transportation safety, community resilience during major incidents and highway closures, and economic stability through safer transportation corridors. We turn to slide 26. Highway rescue services are funded through a combination of general municipal tax, provincial cost recovery or agreements where applicable, and grant funding opportunities, reserve contributions for like the rescue apparatus and some of our major rescue equipment. This funding supports emergency response operations, replacement of rescue when needed, and any equipment. It helps pay for all of our training and certifications, all of our vehicle electrification tools and maintenance, and long-term equipment and infrastructure replacement. I'll give you some numbers. So in 2024, we did a total of 38 rescue calls, like motor vehicle incident calls. We attended 28 of them. 10 of them we were canceled en route. And we did about 386 man hours on those calls. And in 2024, we were reimbursed $16,809. To provide that service, it probably cost the municipality around $54,456. So we don't make any money. We hardly get any cost, like we get about roughly half of what it costs to run that service. In 2025, we did 52 motor vehicle incidents. We attended 40, 12 we were canceled. And in 2025, we got back from EMCR, $30,076. We estimated that it cost us $66,000 to run that service for that year. Year to date for 2026, we responded to 24 highway incidents. We attended 20, we were canceled 4. Year to date, we figured we spent around, it cost us around $35,000 to run that service, and we have been reimbursed from EMCR $17,885. So just give council a rough idea. We're getting back roughly half, if half at times. And this year we'll get a little bit more back because we did charge one of the trucking companies for our time on scene. So that should be zero cost savings to the municipality. It'll be fully covered under them, but attending the first part of the incident would have been all on taxpayers Any questions with that slide?
Just curious as to why the calls get canceled.
So, because it's such a huge area, a lot of times, like last night, for example, we got called out at 1:30 this morning for a moose versus car at Summit Lake. We get very limited details right off the get-go. Normally, it's sad to say, but a lot of people that travel our highway do not stop. They see an accident and they just keep driving.
Yeah.
And then they call 911 once they hit cell service. So that a lot of times we get that initial, there's a car accident here, looks like a vehicle versus moose. Don't know if anybody's trapped or injured because we didn't stop. We take that dispatch, we page out our crews, we start responding to the call with us, our CMP and BCHS. And we're constantly getting updates. If we know Public Works Canada is up the highway, we'll get them to check it out for us if they're in the area. If we know local contractors up there working, we get them to check it out. And once there's an accident inside the highway, we normally get multiple calls on it. And eventually somebody stops and gets us good information. So for example, last night, we were told that it was a vehicle versus moose and the driver was injured. So we were going to that. We didn't know if he was trapped or not. A half hour into the call, we got updated that the driver is out of the vehicle, no injuries, and the moose has broken legs. So we canceled the car. We stand our guys down. We're not going to drive all the way up there for that. So that's when we get canceled or we turn around, is when we get better information that we're not required on scene.
One of the benefits and the reasons we started using InReach, but now with the Starlinks, is the ability to even get that information. Because if you go back a few short years ago, that call might have been canceled, but there was no way to reach the team.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, so they'd make the trip to Fireside, for example, and get up there and realize that they were stood down, but they were stood down at north of, when they were north of Steamboat at a cell service, right? And we had satellite phone technology, but for anyone who's ever used it, we know how unreliable that could be in terms of the connectivity. So that's a good news story today with the systems that have been integrated into the trucks, is that at least then they can get real-time updates.
Lorraine, I see your hand.
Yeah, thank you. Do we get to bill for that call out at all, or it's canceled so we don't bill the province?
So we get $125 for that initial call. As long as we get a PIN number. Still,
and
it
even-
doesn't cover overtime cost.
Or the fuel?
No.
Thank you.
Any other questions so far?
Doesn't look like.
Slide 27, same thing, highway rescue. Talks about it's mostly general tax levy. We do get grants from time to time, and we do get a little bit back from PEP. We are looking at ways to improve opportunities to build back to get more cost recovery. The sad thing is we'll never probably be able to go after ICBC because they're a private or they're a corporation. They're a crown corporation. We can't bill them, but there's nothing saying that we can't bill individual trucking companies and stuff like that. So we are looking at ways to get more cost recovery into this, and we're constantly going back and forth with the province on getting more funding for highway rescue services. And it's all the fire chiefs in the province are always trying to get that cost recovery better. So slide 28. Highway rescue responses, like I said, they can commit personnel and apparatus for extended periods of time, which can impact overall emergency response capability within the region. Once we're on that call, we're on that call until we finish the call and we head back to town. So due to the size of a response area and the nature of the rescue, incidents can take several hours to complete, tying up crews for extended periods of time. Rescue incidents in our region can be highly complex and time consuming due to the size of the response area and access and challenges. Some calls can take several hours to complete, and in certain cases, a crew may be committed up to 12 hours, limiting our ability to respond to other emergencies. While there are some provincial funding support, it does not fully reflect the actual operational costs required to maintain this level of service. Slide 29. Our core response includes fire incidents, medical assist, rescue operations, but our service delivery extends well beyond that. We also respond burn complaints, hazardous materials, incidents, public safety calls, and a variety of municipal requests within the city. In addition, we support other agencies such as RCMP, on-scene assistance, providing CISM support to our members, and respond to BC Hydro utility-related incidents affecting public safety. What this shows is that our members are not only responding to fires, but they are providing an all-hazard response model that supports multiple partners and a wide range of community needs. So if you can see there, that's over the last, since 2021, what our call volumes have been. And you can see fire is between 100 and 150 calls a year. Our medical calls are over 350 a year. Rescues are down below 50 a year. Burn complaints are below 50 a year. Hazmats are below 50 a year. Public safety calls are roughly around 100. City calls are pretty low. RCMP assists are fairly low. And we just start tracking the hydro incidents. So that number will be climbing this year because we've already got quite a few of those issues so far this year. So any questions on that slide? Slide 30. No questions. We'll move on to animal control.
Maybe I'll stop you there, because I'm hungry. So if everybody would maybe just like to grab something to eat. Do you mind if we eat while you're talking, Chief?
No, you can go for it.
Okay, good.
I'm easy.
It's 12:30, so let's do that before this gets cold.
I have to see, we go to the next one.
Spinach is better than veggie. Oh, what's that?
Actually, orders. The crate had to be 4x4, the size of the TV crate. You couldn't put it in our soccer truck, so when the candy, they had to go home to their personal vehicle. Put the crate. I think. It was covered up. The kid is bucket.
That's about it.
And then the instinct comes close to the surface when they get home. We were traveling back from Alaska to Lone Shoe. Had a dog that's talking. But that was also more than- But I think that was in between contracts. So me and Peter were doing all the animals. So I think we did 3 in a row.
Got that one. You're like, we need to get this contract sorted out. Scott.
Yeah, it was a beautiful dog.
Right? Yeah.
Friday, fill your boots.
Free Friday.
There's some vegetarian stuff over there.
Where's the Spinach is that over here too. Oh, I like that. Nobody wants the spinach and feta.
And that dog walked out and it was almost like he wasn't even on his hind legs, if he looked at it out. He was not. So what do you have? That was scary.
But his name was like Captain Snuffles or something. It admit like we're different people. Was that what it was? So it was something like that. And I was like, okay, what's this stuff called? And Gamer told me not to read. It's a little deceiving. What's that? Yeah, right, maybe.
Yeah, go ahead, chief. Everybody's got something to eat, so go on ahead.
Okay, we're gonna move on to animal control and animal rescue services, so. Scope of services, animal control services, the pound service, dog licensing, wildlife control, answering calls from the public and checking wildlife attractants. And we also, part of that is the Animal Rescue Society. We have 3 different contracts for this service. We have the pound contract, animal rescue, and animal control. Animal control services support both safety and community livability while promoting responsible pet ownership and reducing wildlife attractants. The NRRM provides animal control services focused on public safety, responsible pet ownership, and animal welfare through enforcement of animal control bylaws. If we switch to slide 33. The animal control officer takes calls Monday to Friday from 0800 to 1600 hours. And they also work after hours on Saturdays. They do proactive patrolling. They respond to animal related public safety concerns, stray animal collection and impound services, dog licensing and administration, wildlife attractant enforcement and education, support for animal welfare concerns, public education related to responsible pet ownership, coordination with contracted control and shelter service providers, and monitoring and response to animal-related complaints within the service area. Animal control today is significantly broader than simply impounding stray dogs. Much of the workload now relates to wildlife attractants, public education, animal welfare concerns, and reducing human-wildlife conflicts. Animal control responded to 75 calls for service in 2025, and that included 66 dog-related complaints and 9 cat-related complaints. On slide 34, animal control services contribute to public safety and overall community quality of life through enforcement, education, and animal welfare support. This directly benefits residents within the animal control service area, pet owners and animal caretakers, individuals affected by stray or aggressive animals, community members requiring assistance with animal-related concerns. Indirect benefits is to the overall public safety and community well-being, reduce wildlife attractants and human-wildlife conflict, improved responsible pet ownership and bylaw compliance, and enhanced community cleanliness and livability. We also have our animal control contractor, when they're out doing their patrols, they will contact the bylaw department if there's any unsightly properties, if they notice garbage on properties or any wildlife attractants or anything like that. So slide 35. This is all general tax levy. Slide 36.
Separate eligible.
Yeah. So $1,000 is for dog licensing. Slide 37. As was said, animal control services are increasingly focused not only on enforcement, but on community education, public safety, and reducing human-wildlife conflicts. Increasing public expectations from animal-related services, balancing public safety, animal welfare, and enforcement responsibilities. Wildlife attractant management and increasing human-wildlife interactions. Maintaining proactive enforcement with limited resources. Fees and license revenues may not fully offset the cost. The fees are unchanged for nearly 10 years. Significant enhancement of services in recent years and increased patrol times. And you'll see the fire chief officers assist the contractor when available. Currently, we are working on a animal control procurement to work under one contract rather than have 3 separate contracts. So that's being worked right now in the background, and we're hoping to have that out in September,
Next month or so.
next month or so, so. So rather than dealing with 3 different contractors, we're hoping to have one contractor and maybe they subcontract it. Well,
Mhm.
Slide 38, any question? On animal control. No questions. Slide 39, we're moving on to bylaws. So if you switch to slide 40, so bylaw enforcement supports community safety, livability, and compliance through a balance of education, voluntary compliance, and enforcement actions when they're required. The NRRM provides bylaw enforcement services focus on public safety, regulatory compliance, and community standards through investigation of alleged bylaw violations, enforcement of municipal bylaws, response to public complaints and service requests, education and voluntary compliance initiatives, property maintenance and nonsense enforcement, support for public safety and community livability, coordination with RCMP, fire services, conservation services, and all other agencies where required. We have good documentation, evidence collection, and enforcement actions, monitoring and enforcement of municipal regulations within the service area. Slide 41. The NRM provides bylaw services focusing on maintaining public safety, community standards, and regulatory compliance. Most of our bylaws are complaint-based investigation and enforcement response. So we've received complaints, we go investigate it. Enforcement of municipal bylaws within service area. We do a lot of education and voluntary compliance when and where it's appropriate. Response to urgent public safety concerns on a priority basis. So if we ever received a complaint and it had anything to do with public life safety, we will respond to that like right now, any time of the day or night. We have proactive enforcement initiatives based on operational priorities and available resources. Your fire chief officers perform and manage bylaw enforcement functions as part of the protective services operations. And we do documentation, evidence collection, and enforcement proceedings. Service levels dependent on staffing availability, emergency response priorities, workload demands, and funding resources. If we're out dealing with a bunch of other emergency incidents or calls, bylaws takes a back step until we're done those incidents, and then we can respond to those bylaw complaints. Slide 42. Bylaw enforcement helps maintain safe, clean, and livable communities while supporting voluntary compliance and responsible community standards. This directly benefits all residents within the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality, all property owners and businesses, community members impacted by bylaw violations, individuals requiring public safety or any other related enforcement support. It indirect benefits overall community safety and livability, improve property maintenance and neighborhood standards, increase voluntary compliance with municipal regulations, support for public health, safety, environmental protection, and reduce impacts from any unsafe activities. Slide 43. Bylaw enforcement services are primarily funded through taxation and some operational costs, partially offset through enforcement fees and recoveries. Bylaw enforcement services are funded through a combination of general municipal taxation, bylaw enforcement fees, and cover costs where applicable, municipal operating budgets, reserve contributions for vehicles that we use. Our bylaw vehicles are our fire command vehicles, so my vehicle is a bylaw vehicle, so it acts, we don't have an independent bylaw vehicles, we just use our fire vehicles. This helps with enforcement operations, investigations, staffing and administrative support, vehicle, equipment and technology, training and compliance activities, and public education and community awareness initiatives. So that's what we all get out of the general tax levy when we do the bylaw. Any questions?
Do you keep any statistics? How many complaints you respond to, and then how many result in an educational opportunity, and how many result in actual enforcement?
Perfect. Slide 45.
All right, Mayor, is your mic on?
Oh, sorry, thank you. I just was asking about whether or not we're keeping any statistics.
So the current model prioritizes education and voluntary compliance. So we want to educate everybody before we just go start writing fines and tickets. So enforcement actions and fines are generally used only when voluntary compliance efforts have been unsuccessful. So in 2025, bylaw services responded to 136 incidents. Year to date, we have investigated 81 bylaw files from homeless camps, traffic and control concerns, property maintenance, and wildlife attractants. I don't have the exact stats on, because right now we are heavily involved in property maintenance. So what happens is when we receive a complaint, or if we're doing active enforcement and we see a property that is unkept or full of garbage or wildlife attractants, what we do is we take a copy of the bylaw, we go knock on the door. If the homeowner is home, we try to educate them on the bylaw and we hand them a copy of the bylaw. If nobody is home and we can't get a hold of the homeowner, we send we'll send a letter looking for them to comply within 7 days. If they don't, we send another letter that they must comply within 14 days. If they don't comply by then we put a 24-hour notice on the property, or we contact the owner. And within 24 hours, we have a contractor that goes in and cleans the property. So you'll see right now we have probably 10 files a day that are getting cleaned up by contractors. So once the contractors do the cleanup, the billing comes back to the municipality and it goes through their general taxation, I believe, for cost recovery. So I can get you all the stats, but like I said, so far this year, we're at 81 bylaw files. So some are complaints, some are actively enforcement, and they range from homeless camps. We get complaints on homeless camps throughout the municipality. We'll go there, we'll do investigation, we'll talk to the people. We'll decide if it requires any bylaw or put it onto our CMP or mental health. Same thing with traffic control. We do have traffic control bylaw that we follow. So for mostly parking violations and stuff like that. Our big ones are property maintenance this time of the year and wildlife attractants. So they keep us fairly busy. We can easily do 10 to 20 files a day. The thing is, each file takes probably 6 to 8 hours to do that file. So, because you have to go there, you have to do the investigation, make sure all your notes are correct, and then
Track them down.
contacting them, and then everything we do out in the field goes back to admin, and then our admin assistant starts typing everything up and getting everything, make sure we're doing our job right. So.
Lorraine, I see your hand.
Yeah, thank you. Is there a way to recoup our costs when we have to pay for a contractor to go in to clean up a property? I'm assuming we present the bill to the homeowner, and then if they don't pay that, what happens? Does it just go on their property? Like, how does that work?
Was in the property tax bill.
Did you hear that, Lane?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, yeah, okay.
So initially, when we started doing it, there was a bit of an uptick in people liking contractors clean their property until they realized that the next year they have to pay for it. We had a couple of repeat offenders that quickly followed the bylaw when they realized that it wasn't the rental units were getting mowed for free.
Yeah, so,
Counselor Souls?
Okay, I noticed when you just introduced this subject, you talked about complaint-driven bylaws, and I dislike them very much, except I recognize that they're necessary. The second thing that you talked about immediately after that was education. So do you ever have a case where you have complaining people that you have to educate about their complaining?
yeah, yeah. Almost every bylaw file creates another bylaw file.
Yeah.
So
That's
Yeah.
a good answer.
neighbors will throw neighbors under the table real quick.
It's probably good too, just to outline, I mean, from council direction, we do proactively, so the property maintenance bylaws are proactively enforced, so that's basically touring around and looking for that. Our watering bylaw,
Yep.
that one's actively enforced. And then similarly, the attractants from, and that's in coordination with the Wild Safe BC, especially when you look at the bear, that program with the garbage bins. And then lastly, animal control is proactively enforced because because the contractor patrols and whatnot, and they also assist us in if they see something else that's outside of their scope, they'll report it so it can be documented too. Right?
Bylaw enforcement is currently administered through the protective services by the fire chief and two deputy chief officers with the help from the building inspector. Balancing emergencies, responsibilities with bylaw enforcement demands, increasing public expectation for enforcement services. Positively out there enforcing the bylaws. There's a growing workload related to complaints and property maintenance concerns. Coordination with RCMP and other partner agencies during public safety incidents. Staffing capacity impacts service levels and response times, which each bylaw investigation is taking between 3 to 6 bylaw or like man hours to complete a file. This includes your admin, dispatch, bylaw investigation, admin for documentation, and final bylaw process, including contractor engagement and bylaw officer follow-ups. We don't just go to a property once. We constantly, we do a 7-day follow-up. So we'll go back to that property 7 days, make sure we can contact the owner and just see if they are following the bylaws. So every file we do, so we did 81 files today, we would have been to that property probably 3 times so far on for the same file.
Yeah.
Because once they don't do an order to comply, then we have to take a contractor there and let the contractor know what our expectations are following the bylaw. And then we post the 24-hour notice. And then within the 24 hours, we're back there with the contractor, making sure they run into no issues or concerns. So because they're our contractor, their health and safety is our responsibility as well. So. And you'd be happy to know the 106th Street's getting done right now. Sustainable long-term funding and operational support requirements. It's like I said, everything. When it comes to the contractor, it all goes back to their property taxes. So any questions on that? Slide 46. Any questions on bylaw services? Moving on to slide 47. So protective services 911. So the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality, they utilize a regional partnership model for 911 call taking service, allowing emergency calls to be efficiently routed and transferred to local responders for operational response. The NRM provides access to emergency 911 service through a contracted emergency communications partnership with Grand Prairie Fire Rescue. This service includes 24 hours 7 days a week, public access to 911 call service. Initial emergency call taking service provided through Grand Prairie Fire Rescue. So somebody in our area, when they call 911, they will be, for the initial call will be answered by a dispatcher for Grand Prairie Fire Rescue. They will ask, do they want police, fire, ambulance? Once the caller states what emergency they're calling for, then the caller is transferred to that agency. So as for fire, they get transferred to our dispatcher. For BCHS, they get transferred to Kamloops. And then for RCMP, it's most likely in Prince George. So, and then the caller is talking to that agency's dispatch. So all coordination with fire services, BC ambulance, RCMP, and other emergency response agencies, emergency communication support for municipal emergency response operations, maintenance of emergency communication agreements, and operational coordination. So we have a contract with Grand Prairie 911 that they will do our call forwarding for 911. Any questions on that slide? Slide 49. 911 services provide the critical first point of contact during emergencies, ensuring emergency responders can quickly be notified and coordinated with when assistance is needed. The NRM provides emergency 911 communications through a contracted regional call taking partnership and local emergency response coordination. This is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The initial call, like I said, has gone through for 911, is provided through Grand Prairie Fire Rescue. All fire-related calls are then transferred to Northern Rockies Fire Rescue for dispatch and operational response. Coordination with BC Ambulance, RCMP, and partner emergency agencies. Emergency communication support for fire and rescue operations. Ongoing maintenance and communication systems, agreements, and operational procedures. Service levels dependent on communication infrastructure, contracted services, staffing availability, and emergency system reliability. We tend to notice that the 911 service works great when somebody phones 911. The thing that we tend to constantly be educating the public on is once 911 takes that call, they will take all your basic information in case the call drops. That way, when they do the transfer over to the agency you're trying to get a hold of, if they drop that call, they have a point of contact to get a hold of the original caller. So a lot of people tend to get upset that they're being asked the same questions twice. So we educate the public why that happens. And then they say it takes forever to get a hold of 911. It's not that it takes forever to get a hold of 911. It's once that call is transferred to BCHS, RCMP, that's where the delay is, because now you're waiting for the availability of their dispatchers to take the call. So we do a lot of education with a lot of the members of the public on 911 answers the call fairly quick. It's the transfer to the other agencies. And a lot of the times that we notice when we get working structure fires is they call 911. 911 takes the information, and then once the call gets transferred, they automatically hang up. So we're trying to educate people to stay on the line until you're told you can hang up as well. So there's some growing pains with the 911 transfer from phoning local lines directly, but it's getting better and better every day. We noticed that the public phones 911 for BCEHS and RCMP, no issues at all. But when it comes to the fire department, they want to talk to a local member at the fire department. So if we did say our monthly stat run is probably 50 to 60 calls a month, 8 of those would be through 911. All the rest would be direct to the fire hall. So, yeah. But we're slowly educating it. It's just going to take time. Slide 50, 911 directly benefits all residents within the NRM, all visitors and traveling public, individuals requiring emergency assistance. It benefits the fire service, RCMP, BCEHS through coordinated emergency communications. Indirectly benefits overall public safety and emergency preparedness, faster coordination of emergency response resources, improved communication during emergency incidents, and community reliance during large-scale emergencies and disasters. Slide 51, the tax levy is, we share a cost with Fort Nelson First Nations. They pay $4,000 towards the tax levy for this service, and then the rest is funded by general tax. Slide 52. And then slide 53. As I said earlier, there's still a lot of confusion with the public when they phone 911. They always say it takes forever to talk to somebody. What the forever is the in-between transfers.
Yeah.
And the majority of the public want to talk to somebody local, so we're getting there. Any questions on 911?
I don't see any.
I'll add just a couple of things, I mean, Mayor, just an FYI for future council is we're currently looking at different dispatch models at the fire hall. When you combine dispatch or the calls and the bylaw and whatnot, like the increased calls for service that we're seeing that are typically going up year by year. The current service from a dispatch perspective isn't adequate. Like and it's mostly from the after hours and weekends perspective. Because it's just the call volume's gone up. So we're currently looking at different models to help close the gap in terms of that service and how we're providing it. Cause it's a bit of, call it ad hoc at the end of the day for the after hours piece or expectations at a single clerk to look after it all. So but we're looking at that. There's next gen 911, which we're not quite sure what that quite looks like yet, which we're a very basic 911. It's a call forwarding system essentially, which is which is a step or two down than what you have south of us. Federally, they're looking at kind of coordinating that next gen 911, but the system literally is the rollout is only as fast as the slowest organization. And of course, infrastructure, whatnot, addressing and things like that is a big part of it. And then of course, how is it funded? Right. So that's on the docket. And then lastly, with the call boxes were a good initiative at the time when we were looking at trying to close a gap or provide the traveling public on the highway an ability to contact someone in the case of emergency. Of course, there was lots of discussion at the province at the time. Citizens Ministry of Citizen Services provided funding, obviously, for that program. But what we're starting to recognize now, of course, that was prior to low orbit satellite, i.e. Starlink. So one of the things we're looking at is it's basically it's a data technology now. Support's becoming challenging, and what we're looking at is potentially replacing those units with Starlinks. And just looking at what the cost model would look like. We've got some infrastructure in place already in those sites. We'd need a little bit some additions there. That would give the ability for the public to not just call 911, but to communicate with a family member for that matter. Because we do for the call boxes that are working, because it's a struggle to keep them all working, quite frankly, with the failures we've been seeing. Sometimes people are just using them for a tow truck or whatnot to try to access because they're in need of assistance, not emergency help from an emergency perspective. And we're already operating the one on behalf of PRD at Trutch with Starlink, and it's working pretty good. Like the camera that's being viewed off of the Ministry of Transportation's website, Drive BC operates off the signals provided by that Starlink. It's all self-contained and whatnot. So that's another piece that our tech department's looking at to possibly make that change over to a similar kind of setup.
Yeah, the Starlink has been a game changer for our service for sure. We used to get so many calls up the highway for a motor vehicle incident, and it's sad to say nobody stops to offer assistance to anybody. They just see a vehicle in a ditch or inside the road. They call emergency services. I mean, we were called for a motor vehicle accident at the at the shooting up at, by the Liard Hot Springs a few years back. We were going for a motor vehicle accident and it was nothing but close to a vehicle accident. So back then, we wouldn't get any updates until went to the scene, turned around and came back. Now we get updates right now and it's been a huge game changer. It saved us a lot of stuff. I just wanted to just touch base that some of the key themes across protective services is that the demand for service continues to increase. Training and regulatory requirements continue to grow. Recruitment and retention remain ongoing challenges. Many services support provincial responsibilities. And long-term sustainability requires balancing services, expectations with available funding. And protective services remain essential to the community's safety and resilience. I just want to thank council for allowing me to, share this presentation with you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, chief. That was good. Give us a good idea of what we're doing and how we're funding it. So, thank you. Okay. What's next? Aileen,
The fun stuff.
the fun stuff, government services.
Copies, but I've republished the agenda with the digital as well. Here.
Thank you.
Mike,
Well, this-
please. And I didn't, am I gonna get a copy? Cause I didn't see a copy
It's-
attached to the agenda.
The agenda's been republished,
Oh.
Deputy Mayor, so you should be able to access it now, I think. I'm just gonna confirm here for you.
Are you able to see it, Deputy Mayor Gerwing?
I just refreshed my agenda and there it is.
Okay.
So good.
I see it online, but I don't see it in my email where the agenda was refreshed, but I'll look, maybe there's a delay.
Sorry, I didn't resend the email. Are
Oh,
you
so
looking at,
just go to the old one? Okay,
yeah, so if you follow the HTML link, you should get today's version.
okay, thanks.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yep.
So, general government, I'll be preaching to the choir here, because you're among the services that we provide. But essentially, this area of the Northern Rockies includes council as a service. Might be a strange way to look at it, but that includes also the elections process, our finance service, corporate services and communications, tech services, human resources, as well as something we call common services and the facility that we're sitting within. So we'll kick off with council and elections, which is fast approaching. So throughout the course, we're going to kind of maintain the similar structures we have. So we'll talk about the scope of each of those services, the levels of service that's provided, who benefits and what those benefits are, how we fund them, including the expenses and the revenues, and then some of the challenges and other items for discussion. So spoiler alert, our area is almost nearly expenses entirely. So we don't have a whole ton of revenues to offset what we do. So the scope of service for council. So thinking about the roles that you play, which is to provide leadership and good governance for the organization and on behalf of the community. That includes the elections process, which is, as you know, our democratic way of ensuring that those seated at the table are representative of those who elect them. Council as a service sets the strategic direction for the organization by establishing policy and enacting regulations and bylaws that guide our actions. They set the priorities of the organization reflective of the community's needs and expectations. So that drives out a lot of our projects and the work that we do and how we deliver our services. As you know, with UBCM approaching, you also do a lot of lobbying and advocacy on emerging issues, changes from other levels of government or responsibilities that are handed down and things that arise. Through this process, we're also reviewing and establishing the levels of service for the community. So some of those are directly provided, as we've heard from, and also indirectly provided through other organizations or contracts. And then lastly, it's ensuring that the levels of services that you're establishing are sustainable, and that once a year we have a budget that supports that. So we've done a lot of talking about that over the last number of years, and this is kind of a full circle moment with these presentations. So the levels of service that council provides is honestly just driven out of provincial legislation. So a lot of that has to do with the quorum at meetings, voting as a majority, how council deals with conflict and conduct, and then also through it enacting our own regulations and legislation that's permitted by the province. So local governments are a child of the province, and essentially that's where we get the authority to do a lot of what we do. Every 4 years, as you know, we deliver an election, or when something arises that requires a referendum or alternate approval process. It's become second nature now to ensure that there's frequent and active community involvement. So that could be something routine like the annual trade show or attending chamber meetings, engaging in that way, but it's also on an ad hoc basis, depending on the project or initiative that's underway. Also through council's portfolio appointments and some of the member appointments to other organizations, something that ensures that the decisions made always reflect the input from the world around us. As you know, we have bi-weekly council meetings aside from summer and September. So that adds up to 63 meetings a year. And those are not inclusive of the ones like today, which occur in between the regular meetings. Many. So last year, we went back to last year, but 365 decisions were made through resolution, so approximately daily. 9 bylaws, 3 policies, over 100 reports, and there were 3 major plans and strategies adopted last year, which again drives out the work that staff does on behalf of council and the community. And then in terms of demonstrating where that lobbying and advocating became tangible was through letters written, conferences attended, and other meetings with higher levels of government. So who benefits? Well, hopefully all residents. Certainly the electors that put their name on, put a mark on a ballot, business and industry, visitors, neighboring municipalities and regional districts. And some of the work underway, I'd say in the last 10 years has been a lot more inclusive, looking at that regional view of issues that affect many, sometimes attract that stronger voice. So there's been a lot of work to see where we can gather our efforts, I think, with neighboring communities, our First Nation neighbors and regional districts and other communities in the piece. So some of the benefits of having a council, and yes, some of this is going directly into the candidate orientation that we're going to do. So having representatives that stand for what the community believes in and are accessible in terms of sharing points of view is a benefit to the community. Public services obviously are something that we all need daily, and whether that's ensuring that water is flowing in the right direction or health services are available or whatever the priority is something that's reflective of the need and will of the community at any given time. Being champions and stewards of our region and our community, and then also having that level of local accountability. So James mentioned it when he said people just want to talk to someone that they know. And so, you know, local government and council are those people that are closest to the ground to see how things impact our residents. And so that level of accountability is a benefit for residents as well. How is the service funded? It's approximately a $1.5 million service. So sticker shock here, that includes council's budget for government transfers at $1 million. So if you're just looking at elections and council as a service, it's about $500,000. And that includes elections, which we've started to normalize over the 4-year cycle instead of it seeing peaks and valleys every 4 years. But again, our elections revenue is minimal to offset that, is kind of the only source of income coming in to offset the service. But that's generally to be expected for council and elections as a service. In terms of discussion, so some of the things that impact council as a service is, you know, individuals' time and their ability to commit to the position. And the fact that it spans 4 years, a person's life can change quite a bit in that time period. And then also the relative remuneration. So we're aware that those that run for council are typically employed full-time based on the amount of remuneration provided. And sometimes that also impacts availability. Candidate attraction can be challenging in election years. Weirdly, people don't always think that it's like an envious position to be in. So sometimes it's hard to
Nobody put their hand up at the Chamber of Commerce meeting yesterday when I asked.
maybe not. Maybe that's not surprising. Yeah. So
What's the matter with them? I do it for the money.
yeah. So no amount of advertising, I think, is going to make that make it any more attractive. Yeah. And then voter turnout. I mean, looking back over the past few elections, we've seen an increase, which is fantastic. Resident engagement is great. But it's always a guess year to year, election to election, how that's going to turn out. We always struggle, or council always struggles with proactive versus reactive decision making. So we set out with a great plan and have the projects in place and the strategies in place, and you know, whether we like to accept it or not, there's always going to be decisions that demand time and energy throughout the course of the term. So having clear direction, making clear direction on municipal levels of service. We're hopeful that these presentations will assist council and future councils in doing that. And then, you know, this is what we imagined on behalf of council as a service, but we'd love to open it up to you too and understand if there's things that you see as being challenges or opportunities in what you do.
Hey, does anybody have any questions or comments? Councilor Enoch?
The internet. I don't need to say anymore.
Yeah.
Access to information, like staying on top of, you know, the way things change. Like when I first started 12 years ago, we were mostly paper-based, and then we went to my favorite change in the whole 12 years has been the adoption of Box. Yes. Dearly love Box. And so, yeah. So from my perspective, it's like, how do we support council people that don't necessarily come to the table with those skills? So I think that is something that the municipality could look at providing assistance in. So instead of me contacting Jaylene or Scott to say, where do I find this thing, right? It's like, if you train me once, then maybe that will help me or someone like me to locate the information that I'm looking for throughout my term.
That's good feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah, that should be part of the initial package, right? And whether we've done it, it's always a good refresher.
Yeah.
For all of us to do it.
And I think that we fail to recognize as an organization that we are evolving and we're expecting that council evolve with us, but the level that you're maybe dealing with administrative matters isn't at the same level we are.
You're doing it 8 hours a day or more,
Right? Yeah.
right?
yeah.
We're doing it when we can fit it in for the most part.
Yeah. So no, that's a
And we
great,
don't get, it's not repetitive.
Yeah.
Right? So
Right.
maybe
Yeah.
maybe I get a box report, once every week.
Mhm.
And maybe the link works for me, maybe it doesn't, or maybe I want to go look for something.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just not repetitive enough to keep it there in the forefront
Yeah.
of your abilities. Yeah. Yeah.
That's one of my biggest challenge is access to information and keeping up on that and information management. Like 12 years ago when I started, I thought the email traffic was high then, but there's no comparison to
Yeah.
what you're dealing with now. And then the more committees that you're on or the more that you're involved, there's so much information is information management is huge.
Yeah. And it is way better.
Mhm.
Being able to get on the computer and being able to go find a file on a past agenda or a report from a past agenda that you want to refer back to. Sometimes it's a struggle, but you can do it. I don't know how many years I've been in this and I've got a stack of files that's got all the agendas in it that I have to go back and try to find, right? Well, it's better now. It's better now
Yeah.
than it ever used to be. So, so there's positives and you just got to
Yeah.
use it enough. Hey,
Well, and with limited time, right? Because we don't have full-time positions, obviously, right? We're doing it in addition to everything else in our life that we're doing. So
Yeah.
I think that that's a struggle. I know it's a struggle for me and people that I talk to. It's like for sure what Councillor Enoch said. It's like social media is a deterrent and just the volume of information also, like how can I possibly keep up with all that?
Mhm. Nope, that's good. Thank
Good.
you. Great
Okay.
feedback. Yeah. So then in terms of the service, the other side of the coin is general administration, under this area of the organization. So this includes the CAO and human resources. So when I talk about the CAO, it's executive leadership, finance being its own program area, corporate services, technological services, common services, which includes the facility itself. So under the executive leadership service, do you want to talk about this?
You don't care anymore.
Take the wind out of your sail.
This is your last chance to tell us what you've done all these years.
Oh, well, I mean, when you want to talk social media, there's lots of people that have opinions about what I've done this past year. Of course, as you know, I'm the sole employee of council. Provide organizational leadership. So, there's 97 hourly employees. Obviously, they don't all report to me, report to the respective managers, and those managers report to the respective, directors. My role essentially is the link, and as it says, I'm the link between the policymakers. Council are the policymakers, and as staff, we help implement that. And I still remember my first conversation when I was offered the role back in 2017 with the council at the time, and there was a definite lack of clarity in terms of the roles, and that lack of clarity created sometimes chaos in this room, chaos in the building, and chaos out in the public. And my goal at the time, and it was, I was clear with council at the time, and I got the support of that council at the time, was, we need to clarify who does what and what those roles are. And essentially council, the policymakers, they point the way they want the ship to go. And then as staff, we row. But the key piece is rowing together. It was a collaborative approach. And I think I look at where we are today as an organization and I see these discussions occurring, and it's extremely refreshing to see that. Because I think as an organization, we're much more effective. Council's much more effective when that clarity there. And that's part of the role. I think the CAO, it's that it's that connection between council and staff and the public and pivoting based on needs and what the needs of council are. And of course, I mean, we try to be as proactive as we can, but there's lots of reactive approaches to it. Things never say this afternoon's free because something's bound to drop in the lap. So implementation of council's direction and strategic priorities through the organization, establishing, implementing corporate policy direction, and building and supporting organizational culture and succession. So that's, I think, the role in a nutshell.
And maybe just to comment on the difference between council policy and corporate policy. So council's policies tell us what to do and our corporate policies tell us how to do it. And that just ensures consistency and objectivity when we're carrying out the things that are often driven down from council policy. So the next service is human resources. So we have 2 unions that work within the Northern Rockies. So a large part of human resources portfolio is working through the collective agreements, providing leadership to support and guidance and leadership to the management team who are that link with management and staff. Right now, next week, we'll begin bargaining on the collective agreement with CUPE. IFF finished up earlier this year. So that also looks at interpreting the collective agreement or helping others interpret the agreement, obviously, and then working through grievances and disputes when they arise. It's sometimes negotiating and ensuring consistency among our employment contracts for exempt staff. Human Resources looks after our occupational health and safety program and any industrial relations matters, and is really shifting from a doer to a supporter. So when we're looking at mentoring managers to resolve conflict, implement a consistent performance management program, training across the organization, things like that. We also do organizational training and development, so it's not always individual based. Sometimes there's organization-wide training. We'll chat a bit about that. So human resources will often identify those opportunities and coordinate that, but that budget itself doesn't live within human resources. Ensuring that as an organization, we remain compliant with labor code, whether that's BC or federal. And obviously, as things occur in the courts, we're just remaining up to date on that with employment standards and common law. Looking at the LGMA Code of Ethics. So that's something that we've had some conversations about. So any management, any exempt staff, so the Local Government Management Association is something that almost all managers are members of. And so they have their own code of ethics as a member that you subscribe to or you adopt. It's actually a portion of our exempt employment contracts, but we're looking at something kind of Northern Rockies based that can be universal for the organization. And then also, obviously, we have our own NRM policies, some required out of provincial legislation and others because it makes our jobs easier is to have a rule book to follow. So one good example is the respectful workplace policy, standards of conduct, our overtime policies and things like that. Next is finance. Unfortunately, Tony's not here to speak to this because she would make it sound probably much more exciting than I can. But nonetheless, so finance, not a whole lot of question or mystery here what they do. They're responsible for all of our municipal finances. So from the public side, they're doing all of our receivables, utilities, taxes, and invoicing. But at the higher level, they're coordinating all of our budgeting processes, our financial statements, the financial plans. They have certain ways that they need to share that information with the province, which includes that local government data entry portal. And then, of course, they have a pivotal role in our annual infrastructure development plan and the IDCA reporting as well. So some of the levels of service are there reported on the right. And it's always interesting to see year over year in the annual report how much more efficient they get in terms of the paper that's produced and the amount of customers that go electronic versus paper billing. So, and then I think probably the under celebrated piece of all that is payroll. So we actually have one payroll clerk for those 97 employees, sometimes higher than that, depending on the season. And she ensures that they get paid routinely and takes it very personally if there's time missing. And she's a huge resource as well to human resources. So, moving on to corporate services. So we are the paper pushers of the organization. And we see ourselves as well as that link between council and the organization from an information perspective. So we provide organizational admin support, not only internally to other staff, but also to council. That includes all of the records keeping responsibilities for the organization, which we're starting to realize that's a traditional term. We're more information managers now, to Councillor Deputy Mayor Gerwing's point. Given almost everything we do is digital first, it becomes a bit of a different beast to manage data versus paper. So we're going through quite the project and process on that right now. We draft and handle a lot of the correspondence and documents on behalf of council, going in and coming out from members of the public or other organizations. We work through most of the legal inquiries of the organization, including contracts, agreements, and kind of as the shepherds of the procurement processes. We do all the general purchasing and travel for the organization, and we administer the cemetery service. So we have a few statutory roles. There's only a few that are driven out of provincial legislation, but they mainly fall in our area. So the corporate officer is a statutory position, as well as the freedom of information privacy head. We do the bylaw screening, so we work closely with fire rescue. Anytime a resident wishes to challenge a bylaw notice, we do that review process through our office, as well as the elections officers as those arise. So the freedom of information requests we process, give or take 24 a year. So we, not only is there the administration of the request, but it's coordinating all of the response materials throughout the organization. So it is really a full court press when one comes in, and it all depends on the request, but it could span 3 or 4 hours to several weeks, depending on the request. So we'll chat a bit about that in terms of an opportunity for revenue. We also manage all the meeting documentation for council. So agendas, minutes, reports flow through our department. The policy and bylaw review and modernization, which we don't own those processes necessarily. We always rely on the subject matter expert from each department, but definitely ensuring that the format and composition of the bylaws are consistent with the others of the municipality. And then we provide a lot of support and guidance on where we are in terms of compliance with either our own or provincial legislation. And then the other big piece is communications, which has evolved and grown very much over the years. So we do all of the internal, external, and front counter communications. So that's managing our social media, web updates, most of the newsletters. REC is a huge resource. They do a lot of communications as well, and they're excellent at it. So we're very thankful that they have the resources there to do that. And then also serving as that public liaison to council and the organization, as I mentioned. So just some levels of service. So last year there were almost 400 Facebook posts on our on our page, with over 3,000 followers. So that's a pretty nice audience that we're reaching through that channel. We published 75 videos. Not all were council meetings, but most. And we actually,
63 at least.
yeah, we do make other content, just, yeah. Yeah. And we grew our subscribers to council's biweekly newsletter. So from the Bear Pit newsletter. So we were up to just under 200 subscribers to that newsletter last year, which is great. Because as we mentioned, sometimes accessing council information is not the easiest thing to do. So. Common services. So this is just honestly the things that everyone in the organization uses lives in here. So when we talk about some of our tools and some of the resources that make the jobs easier, it can include recruitment resources. So whether that's advertising for postings in professional publications on LinkedIn, things like that, as well as tools that we use to assist in the screening and interviewing process. This is where the costs for our organizational training lives. So one example of that was Indigenous awareness training that we've taken in the past. We've done customer service training, conflict management, just a great way to get as many people trained in something as possible at the lowest cost to the organization. So we have standing local ads that we put in the Northern Pulse, as well as the things that make the world go round, like postage, photocopying, phones, stationery, etc. I tell you, you take one of those things away and you'll hear about it. So a significant portion of this service is also the costs of our software. So as I mentioned, almost all of what we do is digital first. And yes, Box being one of them. But it's basically any digital tool that is common across the organization lives here, as well as our general liability insurance. Another service area under general government is tech services. So it used to be largely mapping, frankly, and it has evolved hugely to be supporting all of the technology that keeps our day running. So they provide support. They supply and maintain all of our technological infrastructure. So that's built pieces and software. They do all of our networking, although that's reducing now with a shift to cloud-based services, which has been actually a really good, I think we learned a lot in 2024 with the wildfire, that there's just such vulnerability with physical technical infrastructure, that providing that redundancy, the ability to be mobile and not having something that is subject to failure has been really beneficial. So kind of seeking a balance there. They work with systems integration. So they do take that global look at the organization to see where there can be reduction in duplication of systems or integrated systems to create efficiencies and things like that. A lot of what they do is ensuring that our asset data, so whether that's drawings or condition reporting, is feeding into the data that we are maintaining on the finance side. It's a large piece of what they do. Analysis and reporting of data as well. So that could be mapping, that could be granular data like spreadsheets, anything like that. They look after our security video and security and video programs across many of our facilities that have that, as well as our drone program. They do our GIS services and mapping, though we've begun to shift when it's project specific, that's contractor provided. We just we inherit the mapping assets once the project's completed. And then they're always on the lookout for new technologies and ways to do what we do a little bit better and more efficiently. And then the town hall facility is our last. So we wouldn't be able to do these things without a roof over our heads. This is a little bit of a different beast in that we actually occupy probably about the same as about the same amount of space as all of our tenants. So with this being a shared facility, our admin services occupy about 20,000 square feet, 22,000 square feet, give or take. Do we do that well? We have a lot of unused space, and if you've toured the town office, it's not necessarily laid out in the most effective way, but you know, it is what it is. It was an old hotel. We're working on that. And then our tenanted spaces occupy the rest of the square. So library, Phoenix Theatre, Play School, Service BC, and the Northern Health Clubhouse. So we managed to have 26 staff operating out of our area. We have 2 general meeting spaces, one of which was our dedicated EOC for many years, but it sounds like we'll be using the fire hall given its construction and setup in future for the EOC, and council chambers, of course. We have 2 vaults for secure record storage, but as I mentioned, just seeing where we're going in terms of digital first and paper last, we're looking at repurposing those spaces once our records have been relocated to the post-disaster construction area for archives. And as we know, there's a lot going on in this facility this year with the roof repairs and the generator and PMT replacement out back, hopefully with the accessibility upgrades. So it's been a long time coming as a 70s building that hasn't seen a whole lot of modernization in that time.
It's probably a good segue just to give a bit of an update on that. So council obviously passed a resolution to award the transformer project. So that's in the background now. Things are starting to materialize there. You'll start to see some activity in August, most likely, which if you go in the back room right now, you'll see it's getting significantly gutted because that's where the new electrical room is going to be, or a portion of that. And there's going to be some new design here as part of that project because of the impacts of the new transformer and new generator, which will provide full power for this for town hall itself, not the complex, but town hall, Grace Manor, and library, the library portion and this portion here at Play School and whatnot, because we're on the same feed. Theater and the Service BC on a different feed, so they want benefit from the backup power. So that's occurring. Jay also mentioned the roof repairs, so that's well on its way from a process perspective, not the actual repair itself, but the procurement process, it's starting to occur through the insurance company. So we're obviously involved, but hands off because it's all being done from the insurance provider, and we've provided local contacts and whatnot for some local contractors and whatnot. So the intent is to have that done prior to cold weather or significant cold weather anyway. The skylights will go away and we'll have sun tunnels or light tunnels in place to provide a little bit of natural light there. And then the accessibility pieces that's occurring in the background, that's still a little bit out in terms of nailing that down, because that's going to be a significant impact to the area, and most likely be temporary relocating staff when that occurs, just to allow the work to get done and get it done efficiently versus trying to work around people and not trying to work, or the staff trying to work around contractors. And then lastly, the parking lot. Parking lot's gonna get redone here most likely in the first 2 weeks of for those who park in there, you'll notice that it's failing or it's failed. So that'll be a bit of a bulk out, and that construction will be planned right now for the first week of August, with Peters Brothers doing the paving the second week of August. So
Where will people park in the meantime? How bad?
so staff wise, there are a couple different options there for staff we're working through right now, either in the back. What we don't want to do is take up the on-street parking, because we want to make sure the on-street parking is available for the other tenants or for theater, library, Service BC. So we're either going to use what technically is a parking lot back here, which is our snow dump, but back in the day, to dodge parking limitations, the town said this is going to be our parking lot too. So we had enough parking stalls to accommodate the facility. So we're going to carve it up a little bit and put a little bit of pit run in just to make sure it's solid. So they'll staff leave the park there or over here by Play School and or where the
Along by the bay is.
that area.
Yeah.
And majority will probably access back here to get into the building, unless again there might be a little bit of overlap with the transformer work. So we're working through that now. But I just want to give an update for council on that one because there's a fair amount of stuff coming up here in the near future.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So who benefits from the general admin service? So council, staff, the entire organization and the community. And it just ensures most of all, just the structure and consistency for the organization, as well as ensuring that we're compliant with the legislation that guides us, ensures that we're managing our resources soundly and within policy, the policy direction that we have, ensures that we remain stewards of our community and our region, and that we remain accountable and transparent to the public. So it's a bit of a blend here in terms of how the service is funded. The oddity being that we've thrown a facility in there to to blend it out, but essentially the IDCA contribution is obviously attributed to the town square facility, with the others being taxation, grants, and general tax. There's the lease spaces reflected there, as you'll see. Again, offsetting the facility costs, but it's quite the blend of expenses and revenues. But if you were not to consider the facility being a component of the service, it's largely funded through taxation. The grants, I should note that the grants that are listed there are also a result of the facility. So those would be around the accessibility and community building grants. Any questions at all?
So those grants are in a specific year. Those could be gone some yeah,
They're not standing grants.
they're not standard.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, this is all based on the 2025 or 2026 budget, sorry.
gotcha.
So some of the things to chat about here, I mentioned it earlier, so looking at opportunities to increase revenues, besides outside of just general taxation. So the province has changed legislation in recent years around freedom of information requests. So it used to be that you could only charge a certain amount per request, but that's now gone. So we have even when the request exceeds 3 hours, our fees are very low. I think it's $25 an hour or something like that. Well, when it involves upwards of 3 to 4 staff, it doesn't cover the costs, let's just say. So there is an opportunity there through an amendment to our bylaw or an update to our bylaw to realize a bit more cost recovery on that service. One of the challenges we have is just turnover and succession planning. So admin tends to be a place where we see some movement in terms of training and retirements and things like that. So it's just ensuring that we have solid succession plans built so that we're giving opportunities for growth and also ensuring that we have coverage. We tend to operate as a very lean team when we have holidays and absences and don't necessarily have the depth and the casuals to bring in coverage. So that affects our efficiency and productivity. So we've been working on that more recently to ensure that we can sustain that coverage. As council is well aware, we always have the risk of uncollectible taxes on crown leases. So we've managed that over the years in various ways, but continue to kind of seek some assistance from the province in remedying that. And then also, as we've uncovered in the last couple of years, it's looking at how the NRM is recognized within various pieces of provincial regulation. So we've either been omitted or overlooked and assuming responsibilities beyond our means. And so that takes resources that we don't necessarily plan for as they arise, whether that be through the Fire Safety Act or other places. So how to avoid that, other than a full analysis of provincial regulations and legislation, I don't know that we're ever going to avoid kind of those things surfacing. So
Can I
yeah,
ask a question just about freedom of information?
yeah.
Where do they, you mentioned the number of requests. Are they primarily personal requests or are they primarily corporate? Or are they other governmental agencies or media? Like where did they come from?
All of those things. Thankfully, we don't have a ton of media
No.
FOIPAs, maybe one a year, but there's a lot of individual requests. A significant amount are coming through as a result of real estate transactions. So we used to be quite open with our property files, but then we recognized that those property files contain a significant amount of personal information. So we started to process them as we do other information requests so that we could ensure that we're meeting our obligations and protecting individuals' privacy. So I'd say a significant portion of those are related to real estate transactions, but it's also dependent on what's occurring in the community. If an issue arises and it's of public interest, sometimes we see those. Sometimes we see them coming from other government agencies as well. So it all depends, but by and large, they're local and from individuals. Yeah. That's all for that one.
That's it.
Yep.
Perfect.
What we have left is planning. And we'll canvas council. I think right now we're thinking possibly maybe the August 10th. Maybe do something at noon because August 10th is the council
The
meeting.
regular council meeting?
That evening, so we're gonna canvas councils, check on availability, and Lisa will do a presentation of the RDP, and that'll close her all up.
So then will you be pulling a summary together of those areas that we've sort of identified as opportunities for, looking at the cost recovery?
Yeah, so the intent as a next step after this is done would be to pull a bit of a global summary
Mhm.
together around what was discussed. Get any further feedback from council. Get into discuss what that would look like, and of course that's a next steps process with a new council. Like this will be integrated as part of the municipal overview process. It's be part of the orientation for new council. I think it's very good. It's time consuming, of course, but I think it's very good information to have an understanding, especially, refresher for councilors, but especially new councilors at the table potentially, to have an understanding how the organization runs and that linkage between that, policymakers, council, and the services that are delivered and the importance of the sustainability of those. And the document, quite frankly, is an ever-growing document. It's going to continue to be refined. That's what I would envision it for anyway.
Mhm.
It's going to obviously outlive me, but I think there's lots of value. There's a lot of work put in it. We were hoping to get to this council a lot earlier, but other things happen. But it's something that really, I think, demonstrates and shows it really demonstrates, and to me, it provides an understanding and clarity about the business being local government, of course, but the business and how it operates and how you fund that business.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah, we're not likely to be able to get to any major changes, right? And before this, we've got 3 meetings left.
Yeah.
Right, before the election. But pulling it together into some kind of a data document, I guess, or, data bundle for that next council so that they can start off with an idea of where we're really falling short, where we haven't, for various reasons, looked at the cost of doing business and increase some of those fees. 2009, I think I saw in your presentation, since we considered what the fee should be. So that's a long time, right? Things have way too long. And so, there's no way you're keeping up with just the cost of living, never mind the actual cost of the service itself and the way it's changed. So, I think if this council could at least give their input on that and where they think, the best areas, at least then we're giving that next council an opportunity to
Yes.
to benefit what we thought after many years for some of us on this council, and maybe they'll still be there. You never know at elections, right?
That's right.
What's gonna happen, so I certainly would like to wrap it together, pull it together in some kind of a data dump or some kind of a document that the next council can learn from early.
No,
Yeah.
for sure. So that is the plan.
Okay.
Yeah, myself and Tony just talked about that earlier this week, actually, specifically around that pulling that. I mean, the information's there now for the most part.
Yeah.
Because the reality is it's looking at that. I mean, we took this approach too, because it's not something that councils want to tackle about raising fees. But each year, I mean, there's been lots of efficiencies that realized through the years, which have mitigated the impact of inflation and things like that. But nothing gets cheaper to operate.
Yeah.
So that gap always continues to grow, and it's getting also what that, the appetite of council, the feeling of council in terms of, and again, that's that policy direction perspective. I mean, it's always been known that the rec center, the affordability component is extremely important for families in the community to utilize it. But it doesn't mean that necessarily that the fees are frozen. It just means that there's policy direction in terms of what does affordability look like and what is that percentage from a revenue to a cost perspective.
Yeah.
And then I think then there's an ability then to look at what, that with inflationary measures that increase, but that's part of that wrap up, that bundle, and have a discussion with this council that can be presented to a new council and say, this is where we are today, and crack that nut open again and hopefully have some decisions. Specific decisions around where the fees look at wherever it sits. If it doesn't move or it does move, it's intentional.
Yeah.
It hasn't been the only intentional piece that's occurred, frankly, over the past few years is no decision. There hasn't been an appetite to make a decision, right?
Yeah.
But I think part of that, and again, back to staff's role, it's up to us to bring it forward to council in a way you can kind of digest it and process it.
Yeah.
And I think this did it, and that'll be the next step.
Good. Okay. Well, thank you for all of that hard work. I think I've certainly learned a lot. I think I have some thoughts around water, sewer, recreation, the WIPA thing that there's, the highway rescue. It sure seems like there's some opportunity there for us to support the taxation, I suppose, but with fees. Because then you're applying it to people who are using the service, where the bigger service that apply to everybody, it's easier to look at taxation when it applies to everybody. When it's a very specific service, then you can start looking at fees and then determining whether they're affordable. Yeah. Okay. Well, good. I think that's it. Is there any public on that wants to ask any questions? No? Okay, then we are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks, Lorraine, for coming in.
You're welcome. Baby's just woken up, so perfect timing.
Perfect timing. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.